The Supreme Court of Appeal, the SCA, has dismissed with costs the ANC's application for leave to appeal the Gauteng High Court in Johannesburg's dismissal of its bid to appeal an earlier ruling ordering it to hand over its cadre deployment records to the Democratic Alliance. In an order today, the appeal court stated that there are no reasonable prospects of success in an appeal. The court has further stated that there is no other compelling reason why an appeal should be heard. Well, the court turned to the appeal court following the ex-temporary judgment delivered in June in the Gauteng High Court, dismissing its bid to appeal a February ruling that ordered it to release all of its National Cadre Deployment Committee records dating back to the 1st of January 2013 within 5 days. This comes after DA MP Leon Schreiber lodged an application in terms of the PAIA, the Promotion of Access to Information Act, in 2021. These efforts form part of the DA's bigger bid to have the ANC's long-standing policy of cadre deployment declared unconstitutional. All right, now let's get reaction. We're now joined on the line by Dr. Leon Schreiber, a Democratic Alliance MP, in fact, via Teams. Thank you so much, sir, for your time this afternoon. So this has been a long-standing battle for you, particularly. The Gauteng High Court in Johannesburg, didn't grant the ANC leave to appeal an earlier ruling that it must hand over its cadre deployment records to the DA. Let's get your reaction to this outcome.
Good afternoon, Unati, and to the viewers. Yes, it has indeed been a long road, all the way back to 2020 when I first submitted this request, but it is really a day of vindication for the DA. We have said all along that it is illegal for the ANC to hold the practice of cadre deployment in a shroud of secrecy, because we must always remember that cadre deployment is something that impacts not only appointment decisions in the public sector, but that ultimately also influences the ability of the public sector, of the government, to actually deliver services. So it is something that is of fundamentally important public relevance. And for that fact alone, it is illegal for the ANC to try and keep the truth about how cadre deployment interferes with appointments a secret. And so today is yet another victory in this campaign now for transparency. And it's very clear now, if you read the judgments from the Johannesburg High Court, 2 of them, as well as today's judgment from the Supreme Court of Appeal, that, as the judges put it, there is simply no prospect of an appeal succeeding because these documents are in the public interest and must therefore be made public.
And as you've just talked about, the appeal prospects, the court saying that there is no compelling reason why an appeal should be heard. What are you expecting to happen within the next 5 days? Because we know that, of course, the court has, the ruling is that to release all of its National Cadre Deployment Committee records dating back to the 1st of January 2013 within 5 days.
Yes, and that is now our understanding. That particular ruling now stands again. The ANC has 5 working days to actually make these documents public. I think it's important to emphasize again that the period we are looking at here, going back to the 1st of January 2013, is when the current president of South Africa, Mr. Cyril Ramaphosa, became the chairman of the ANC's Cadre Deployment Committee. And it is during that period, the last decade, that we have seen the most egregious cases of state capture, corruption, and also service delivery failure. So it is, again, clearly in the public interest for people to know what role Mr. Ramaphosa played as chairman of the Cadre Deployment Committee. And also that is why we have asked for everything. We have not only asked for meeting minutes, we have asked for email correspondence, WhatsApp conversations, CVs that were considered, any form of documentation relating to the Cadre Deployment Committee must be made public so that we can see the full truth of how state capture was initiated through the appointment of people, not on the basis of their skills, not on the basis of their ability to do the job, but on the basis of their loyalty and, in many cases, corrupt networks within the ANC. And this secrecy that we've seen around cadre deployment for over 2 decades now has been fundamental to its existence. And we believe if we can expose actually the truth then we will start to really undermine the ANC's ability to interfere in appointment processes in this way.
In fact, I was going to talk about what those records entail. In fact, they also include CVs and all other records of the ANC Deployment Committee since January 2013. Just talk to us about why the DA has always pursued this particular, route. What is your bigger bid here in as far as the Constitution is concerned?
Yes, I think we must start with just acknowledging that what we are talking about here is not appointments into political positions. I think it's a very important distinction to make because, of course, when it comes to political positions, elected office, that is something that is, of course, subject to the political process. But what cadre deployment is about interference into the administration, into the public administration, positions where people are supposed to be professionals, appointed on the basis of skills and their ability to implement policy and deliver services. So when you look at the collapse of Eskom, of state-owned enterprises, of the load shedding we're dealing with, of roads exploding, of service delivery failures across the board, the root cause of each and every one of them is the fact that people were appointed who were either corrupt or were incompetent. And the fact that those people are put in those powerful positions can be traced back to cadre deployment. So our bigger goal here is, like I said, to make sure that there's transparency, because we're entitled to actually know how these appointments were made and influenced in the first place. But at the same time, we're also taking aim at the foundation of the system with a second court case, and we're currently awaiting judgment in that particular case, which is before the Pretoria High Court, where we've asked the court to also declare the ANC's cadre deployment policy to be unconstitutional and unlawful. The combination of transparency and of a declaration that this practice is in fact illegal, as the DA has maintained for decades now, will be critical moments in actually ending this practice of political interference and starting to rescue South Africa by making sure that we appoint people on the basis of skills in an open and transparent process. No more secret processes, no more political interference, no more cadres. That is our message as the DA.
So you've basically, used the PAIA Act to your advantage, which is why we are here today. And of course, you are aiming to defeat the cadre deployment ahead of the 2024 election. Where does the public fit in all of this? Are you going to make the public aware of the uncoverings that you will be making as you sift through these records and these documents? And what kind of assistance or action, call to action, will you be making to the public?
Well, we have from the very start undertaken very clearly that everything we obtain through this process will be made public. So the South African people fundamentally deserve to know, they have a right to know, as the court has now confirmed repeatedly, that we as South African citizens have a right to know how it is possible that we can appoint the likes of Brian Molefe and Claudio Motsoeneng and put these people into positions of power, and then they destroy the services we rely on. So absolutely, that is our commitment. We will make all of that public. But secondly, it is critical that South Africans actually use this opportunity, this moment where we can see the truth, to actually take political action as well. We will expose to the people why it is that you don't have running water, why it is that there's load shedding, why you have sewage running down the streets, why we have service delivery failure across the board. And we believe it will be very clear that it is the ANC itself as an organization that caused this collapse. The way to fix that is by making sure that we take action. I'm calling on all South Africans who are tired of cadre deployment to go to check.da.org.za to make sure that you are registered to vote. It is the most powerful thing you can do right now to help us in this cause and in this campaign to make sure that next year, when we have the opportunity for an election, we vote in a new government where the DA will not only bring our experience in government, but also our fundamental commitment to ending cadre deployment corruption once and for all into that government. And that is the power that the people of South Africa have by registering to vote.